Hey everybody, it's Ted Bodromo, and I'm here with my friend Scott Keffer, a fellow Pittsburgher. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, Ted, great to have you. Not you have you on, but you have me on today. It's great to be
That's
on.
right. So you work with a lot of financial advisors and any business owner. It's like we always need more clients. So how do you really reliably attract them consistently? You get a flood of clients sometimes, and then there's a drought. You have a good system for keeping a good flow of steady clients coming in.
Yeah, I think, having been a financial advisor for 30 plus years and having failed a couple of times miserably, Ted, I learned some really powerful lessons. And if a seasoned advisor who's successful and yet still wants to grow, wants to double, that's who we help. And it doesn't really matter what industry I talk to people from, but particularly when I talk to seasoned financial advisors, they would say their number one challenge is getting more clients and more of the right kind of clients. And I sort of learned the hard way, kind of three powerful secrets. And at the core of that was discovering something that was so powerful that it was a game changer for me. And it's been a game changer for the folks that we have worked with. And that's what I call the country club effect. The country club effect really changed the whole dynamic, because you think when you're trying to attract clients to you, the question is not only what do we need to be doing, but how do we change the dynamic? Because when people come, their prospects are skeptical, they're overwhelmed these days, they're marketed a ton to, and they come in and the trust scales are tipped against you.
Yeah.
Because of bad experiences and media and myths and all these things, they're tipped against you. And the question is, how do you level the playing field? And I found it was via what I call the country club effect. And it was the whole journey started for me when I wanted to quit out of the business. And I said, what can I do to kind of change it? And I'm watching a commercial. I don't know if you remember it, but the Folgers instant coffee had a commercial on television. And in Arno's restaurant, a 5-star restaurant in New Orleans, they secretly, well, quote unquote, took the brewed coffee out and they replaced it with Folgers Instant. And people were saying, this is great. I love it. Can I have more? Which was stunning to me, because having tasted Folgers Instant, I know it tastes like cat pee, and it gave me a headache. So I thought, what are they really doing here? And it led me on a journey to really discover what I would call my first epiphany, Ted, and that was the Folgers Principle. And that is prospects see what they expect to see, and you set the stage. You really set the stage. And so the first principle, the first secret to me is that you need to set an authority stage, because prospects see what they expect to see, just like they expected to see and taste and experience high-level coffee. They get what they expect, in other words.
It's perception.
And for most advisors, go ahead.
It's like, it's perception. I've learned that when I wrote my first book. It's like people started perceiving me totally different.
Yeah, isn't that the case? And so when I discovered that principle, I thought, well, the reason I'm being treated like a commodity is because I'm marketing like every other advisor. And so most advisors are doing the same thing every other advisor is doing. And therefore, the perception is they're just the same, that there's no difference. And so that led me to realize two things. Well, what do I need to do to set that stage, the authority stage? And I came across an example that is a perfect example of this. If you've seen it, I shared in our training. They took Joshua Bell, who is he's really the poet laureate of the violin. And they put him in a train station in Washington, D.C. And a couple of nights before, he had performed at the Boston Philharmonic, and he makes about $132,000 an hour.
Wow.
And they put him in the subway station. People pass by him, it took only one lady actually recognized him, and he's playing the same way he played a couple of nights before. And here he made $32 an hour. And of course, the reason is the perception. People see what they expect to see.
Right.
And so then I started to, when I studied this, Ted, I looked at where do people perceive authority? And it's really outside of ourselves. When you say you're amazing, when you say you're great, right? It's actually reverse. It's worse.
Right.
So I looked at that, and I call it the credibility staircase, right? Articles about you, articles by you, connection with an authority figure, already established authority figure,
right?
Sponsored speeches, seen on logos, radio, TV, and of course, as you said, the sine qua non, the top of the credibility staircase are books.
Yeah.
So the first secret is to use the credibility staircase and establish your authority stage before they actually meet you, because people see what they expect to see.
There's nothing like handing somebody your book that you wrote or mail it to them.
It's a game changer. And it, they look at you and they say, oh, wow. So using, right, the credibility that's available out there to set your authority stage.
Right.
The second was really to attract and repel magnetically. And this is really challenging, I think, for folks, because a magnet, the power of the magnet, when I started to think about this, the power of the magnet is the same physically as it is in the marketing world. And that is, a magnet does two things, actually. It not only attracts, but it also repels.
Mm-hmm.
And if your magnet isn't strongly repelling, then it isn't strongly attracting. And same with your marketing. If your marketing doesn't clearly attract a certain kind of prospect and therefore repel the wrong kind, it's not going to strongly attract.
Right.
And I always say, you've learned everything you need to know about marketing in high school. So you think about it, if your granddaughter came to you, Ted, and said, I have this great idea, Ted. Grandpa, I'm gonna position myself in high school. I'm gonna tell people I'll go out with anybody and everybody. Yeah, good strategy?
Sure.
Yeah, great. Now, see, we get that humanly, right? It would position her in a wrong way. And of course, the same way with our marketing. When we try to be everything to everybody, when we position ourselves out there as all things, we position ourselves as nothing.
Right.
And so creating the credibility that you need, and ultimately that kind of effect, you've got to be exclusive in the sense of this is who I work with. So it's defining this is who I work with, and then it's putting magnetic attraction in there,
mm-hmm.
which I say has three things. VAC. One, it's got to add value. Your marketing has to add value, right? It can't be all about you. Number two, it's got to have an action, mm-hmm. right? Value, action, campaign. So clearly it has to have an action item. So I always tell people, go through your marketing and see if there's a clear, specific, easy to follow action step that leads some step closer to you, right? Mm-hmm. And then the third, and the VAC is campaign. Never a one-off, can't ask once, right? If you wanted to go out with a girl, you couldn't ask her once, you asked her as many times as necessary.
Right.
So at least 3 to 7 steps in that. So that's my second secret, and that is attract and repel magnetically.
And that doesn't mean just keep blasting messages at people on LinkedIn if they're not interested and not responding.
Yeah, I think I sent one out the other day. I've learned so much from you about LinkedIn, Ted, because somebody came to me and said, hey, should we get together? I help people retire or something like that. And I thought he didn't even read my thing, right? He's just reaching out. And that really kills the first, which is value. Is your marketing so valuable that people would pass it on? That's my question, right? Is your marketing so valuable? Are you creating the kind of content? Do you have a special report that people would want more copies of to send to their friends?
Right.
You know, I always say to advisors, when was the last time your prospects called you and said, hey, could you send me more of your brochures?
Right.
I wanted to give them out as gifts, right?
Exactly.
So that's my second secret.
Yeah. What's the third one?
Well, the third is to engage with right brain pain. So one of the biggest problems I had, and I hear advisors say the same thing, is when you're sitting face to face, Ted, with somebody you know you can help. You clearly know you can help them, and they walk out the door and they give you that phrase that is just a killer, right? The phrase is, hey, thanks so much, Ted. This has been great spending time with you. Let me think about it.
Right.
Let me think about it. And you think, well, wait a minute, what's to think about? And, you know, you go through all of that, like, what happened? Well, then I realized it's because we're taught to put people into the think about part of the brain. And the think about part of the brain is the left side of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And we're taught to do that because our industry is dominated by product manufacturers. And fundamentally, the product manufacturers believe it's about the product.
Yep.
So they teach you all your conversation with the new prospects about the product. And when you do that, when you talk details, numbers, and you talk about your product, you put people into the left brain. And the left brain is the can't decide part of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
The right brain is where decisions are made. So the famous neurosurgeon Antonio Damasio found when people had brain damage, Ted, in the right side of the brain, they couldn't make ordinary decisions. Like,
Mm-hmm.
should I brush my teeth literally or not? What should I have for breakfast? And so most advisors, their presentation's all about the product, all about what they can do. And
Right.
so they put the prospect into the think about it part of the brain. And the way you get out of that is to move to the things that they care about most, right? Robert Collier used to say, join the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
already going on the mind, right? What conversation's going on there? Well, you think about FOMO, but this is FOMO in a different way.
Yep.
FOMO, it's first of all fears. That's the first thing that should be a part of your conversation. O is for obstacles. They think about fears. They think about what are the obstacles that stand in the way. And they think about the mistakes that they might be making.
Mm-hmm.
So FOMO is fears, obstacles, mistakes, and uh-oh. When you think about those, right? So when your conversation with your prospect is around those issues, then you're moving them to the right-hand part of the brain. And so if you think about a wave that is symbolizing life, right? Right brain, left brain, right brain, left brain. So you just want to start in the right brain and you want to end in the right brain in your meeting with a prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So you want to
Totally.
leave them in the part of the brain where they can make a decision.
And the stakes are very high because this is your life savings here. So they have to really trust you.
Yeah. And and this is the weird thing, Ted, even when a prospect comes in to meet with you, if you believe that they're there to make a change, you're wrong. Fundamentally, they're coming in to prove to themselves and often to their spouse that they're doing okay. We're doing fine. We're all right. And so if you start with that, and so you've got to give them political cover to make a change. And political cover is under the cover because mostly the guy is trying to prove he's all right. Like, I took care of everything. You know, if Beth and I came in to see you, I'm telling Beth, we're fine. I'm just here checking things out. You know, I just want to see, right? But I'm just checking things out. So the political cover is to let them know, look, you've been fed some myths in the marketplace. And as a result of this, it's not your fault. You think you're okay, but you're not aware. You're inside the bottle. And when you're in the bottle, you can't necessarily see the label. And particularly, you can't see the blind spots. And so what we're going to do is walk you through an assessment to help you see that there are some blind spots you may be missing, as well as some opportunities.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally. And everybody thinks they're an expert because they did some research on Google about investing their money. So, but when you do it full time, you're building a lifelong relationship with people.
Yeah. And one of the myths is that you can DIY. There's a DIY channel, and you can DIY your house, you can DIY your fitness, you can DIY your health, you can DIY your retirement. You can really, huh? And so helping people understand that you've been taught that, and I get it, that this is why, right? It's not your fault, and here's a different way to think about it.
Right.
So 2 phrases that are super helpful. They're called what I would call right brain rescues. So when you're meeting with a prospect and it feels like you're almost going into a coma, like they're not doing anything. My 2 favorite phrases, and you know them, Ted. One is imagine. So imagine if you were able, right, to clear the deck of all your uncertainties, and you had clarity about where you were going, and clarity that you were okay, right, that you're able to retire, that you don't have to. When the stock market's going up and down, you and all your friends are watching CNBC, and they're not going out at night. And if they do go out, they're watching the prices on the menu. And so their lifestyle is going up and down depending on how well the market does. Imagine if you were able to live a lifestyle in retirement and not have to change your lifestyle when the market went up and down and the economy crashed.
Yeah, instead of reacting to the market swings, you're being proactive and letting the expert handle it for you.
Yes. So imagine's one phrase. My other is picture this. Picture this. And again, those. They're 2 powerful phrases because they instantly will move people to the right-hand part of the brain where decisions are made.
Yeah. Yeah, the mind thinks in images. It reacts to images.
Yeah.
That's great.
So
you have a webinar coming up, right? You're going to be.
I do have
about this.
Yeah. So where I go deeper into those 3 secrets, into not only what they are, but how to apply them in your business. Mm-hmm. And so if people are interested, they can just email us at scott@scottkeffer.com, scott@scottkeffer.com. Happy to send them out a link where they can jump on and walk through. It's usually about a 77-minute webinar. Again, It's not just generalities, but I dig down deep into those 3 secrets. Because at the end of the day, I thought about this. If you ever applied for tried to join a country club, this is the aha for me. You tried to join a country club. What do you have to do to get into a country club? You have to fill out an application.
Yeah,
you have to be approved, and in order to give them money. And that's if you can flip this. So in order to buy a Ford GT, $400,000 beautiful car, you have to fill out an application, get on a waiting list before you can buy a car. Right. Well, there's something in us, and it's back to me. This is back in high school again. I was a geek. I was in the out crowd. Really, I read Popular Mechanics, and I was kind of a math guy, but I was so shy, I wouldn't have gone out on a date had I not been asked. I would have gone out of high school without a date because I was too freaked. But inside, I wanted to be in that in crowd.
Right.
And inside every human is the desire to qualify. And when you can put the country club effect to work in your marketing, you literally, for the right kind of prospect, you flip the switch. And the switch is that they value you more. They want to qualify to work with you. They're leaning toward you. And so the country club effect takes the scale, the trust scale, which is tipped against you, and it levels it. And sometimes it even tips it in your favor. Mm-hmm. And so if somebody's interested in learning how to apply the country club effect, tip the trust scale in their favor with prospects, and literally magnetically attract more prospects, then again, just Scott at Scott Keffer, and we'll send them a link and remind them about the upcoming webinar.
Yeah, I'll add a link in the show notes here too after this.
Cool.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks, Scott. I love your webinars. I've been and watched a few of them. I'm not a financial advisor, but I really enjoy your style.
Well, I appreciate sharing, and it was business has at times been such a struggle for me, and if you can get control, I call it command the demand. When you can command the demand of prospects, you change the whole game.
Yeah.
And so when I can help folks do that, it's fun for me.
Starts right here with the mindset, right?
Well, that's right, Ted. That's exactly right.
Great. Well, Scott, thanks for your time.
It was great to be on here. Hope folks got some value from what they heard, and take action on one thing. Just apply one thing to their marketing.
Yeah, definitely join Scott's webinar. Thanks, Scott.